Welcome and many thanks for joining me on today's edition of Weekly Digest on Uhtv Naija. My name is Kizito. This is actually the first edition in the month of July. Weekly Naija is a program where we bring you up to speed with what is happening, especially in the political circle in Nigeria, Africa, and the world at large. And then this week's edition, we are going to discuss issues that trended within the last 7 days. We have Governor Otto, who seems not to be happy with his party. We also have the party tussle in Imo State APC, where it appears that Dan Nwafo-led faction has been given the edge to superintend the affairs of the party in Imo State. And of course, we are also going to talk about the disturbing issue of Bola Ahmed Tinubu's certificate scandal, which has caused so much ripples in the country. I am your host, Kizito. When we come back from this break, we will dissect this topic one after the other. Do not go anywhere. Join me. Welcome back and many thanks for still joining us. In Nigeria, the last few days, it has been people talking about Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Of course, Tinubu is a household name in Nigeria as far as politics is concerned. A former senator and a two-time former governor of Lagos State, and one of the leaders of the All Progressive Congress, and of course, the presidential candidate of the APC in Nigeria. A few days ago, INEC made public the documents he surrendered or he tendered to the electoral umpire, which is a requisite before he is given the nod or cleared to contest for the election. However, his primary and secondary school certificate, the column provided for such, was left empty, which has triggered reaction from Nigerians. According to Tinubu, these certificates were stolen while he was on exile. So many people have been asking if these certificates were stolen as he claimed. What are the names of this school he attended? Can we reach out to these schools? Who are his schoolmates? Can we reach out to them? And this is more like a deja vu feeling for Nigerians, because in 2015, when the current President Muhammadu Buhari, was contesting on the same platform of APC against the then sitting president Goodluck Jonathan, there was also issues pertaining to his qualification as regards his education background. These issues were still on and even went as far as the Supreme Court, where the court in its wisdom said he was eminently qualified to be the president of Nigeria in a very controversial judgment. And Nigerians are saying, are we going to go through that route again with Ahmed Tinubu? Of course, the most controversial part being that when he contested to be the governor of Lagos State, Ahmed Tinubu, he tendered the names of the schools he attended. And of course, in Nigeria, it is permissible for INEC to write the school one attended in a case of loss of certificate or otherwise, where the person tenders an affidavit showing that he or she truly lost his certificate. It is not out of place to write to the school, to write to the examination bodies, to have this result submitted to INEC from those bodies. But it appears, or Nigeria's fear, that this option seems not to be, or to not have been triggered by INEC. And they are saying, if someone's educational status is shrouded in secrecy, can we trust the integrity of the person to pilot the nation? A nation that is in dire need of purposeful leadership. The nation that is in dire need of a sincere leader whose record in terms of business, education, marriage, leadership would be to the public for them to dissect and also pass judgment on. This has been the issue trending about Ahmed Bola Tinubu. Of course, he has said, okay, that he went to a university in Chicago. But the big question is, if you say that your certificates were stolen, this certificate must have been tendered before you are given an admission into. From the APC and Ahmed Tinubu, we cross over to the other party, the PDP. And lately, it appears that things are not rosy for the PDP. Parading a man that has dubbed himself a unifier, it appears that his party, he has to unify his party first. The governor of Benue State, Samuel Ortom, a few days ago, in a television interview, said and lamented about disrespect, negligence, and what he described as disregard to some leaders of the party as regards the choice of the vice presidential candidate of the party. You will recall that the People's Democratic Party few weeks ago set up a committee to advise the former vice president of Nigeria and the candidate of the People's Democratic Party for the president election, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, on who to pick as his running mate. Of course, 3 names were penciled down: the governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, the governor of Delta State, Okowa, and of course the governor of Akwa Ibom State, Odom. But at the end of the day, Okowa was selected or picked by Atiku Abubakar to be his running mate. And the fallout of that decision has been Governor Ortom and some members of the party, as it appears to, are not happy with that choice. Or maybe not really the choice, they are not happy with the process. Because according to Ortom, in a recent television interview, like I said earlier, said that the committee, which had 17 members, that 14 out of the 17 members of the committee reached an agreement that Wike should be picked as the running mate of Atiku. And of course, you agree with me that 14 out of 17 is more than 80% of the committee members. And in line of preference, according to Ortom, it is Wike, Okowa, and Ortom Emmanuel. But Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, in his wisdom, opted and settled for Okowa, which has brought so much dissatisfaction to some members of the party, with Ortom leading the charge. He said he was disrespected as a member of the committee. That if Atiku had made up his mind to go with Okowa, why did he set up a committee to advise him on what to do? Okowa, acknowledging that the decision of a running mate lies solely on the candidate, said that Atiku in 2019 settled for P2B without consultation and it did not trigger any reaction. But forming a committee means that you have absolute respect and regard on the wisdom of the committee to reach a conclusion. And their conclusion was that Wike should be picked as the running mate of Atiku. And Ortom have been saying that Atiku should reach out to Wike personally to pacify him. According to Ortom, he said no one has made more sacrifices as much as Wike in the last 8 years in PDP. He said Wike is one of the leading pillars of the party and should not be treated with such disregard. That even when the nation is clamoring for a Zambian president, and Atiku imagined through a fair process, what the party cannot afford is to toy with leaders of the party who have contributed most to the leadership of the party and the sustenance of the party over the years. Meanwhile, Governor Wike, together with the governor of Oyo State, Seyi Makinde, and of course, their Abia State counterpart, Kizito, are on holiday in Turkey. And there have been rumors that once they come back, when Wike returns, that he will make some decisions that will not be palatable for the PDP. It is still within the rumor mill. But Ortom, at boss, suggests that things are not rosy in the PDP. With Atiku the unifier reach out and unify this party before the campaign starts on September? Or would he want to stick to his ego and say that he has made his choice, and anyone who is not happy with it, can do what he deems best? We hope to see how this thing unfolds. But what is very clear is that the PDP has a job to do internally to ensure that everyone is in the same ship as they fight to dislodge the APC of Aso Rock. When we return, we'll be going to Imo State, where the Supreme Court judgment seems to be causing some controversies as regards who the authentic chairman of the APC in Imo State is. Is it Dan Nwafor or Lemibo? When we come back, we'll also discuss this. Stay with us, please. Many stands for staying with us. In Imo State, it has been one controversy to another as far as the APC is concerned. McDonald faction versus Dan Nwafor's faction. A couple of days ago, the Supreme Court settled the case between on who the authentic chairman of the APC is. As much as the judgment did not expressly reinstate Dan Nwafor as the authentic chairman of the APC, but it appears the judgment said that their tenure had not expired, which people loyal to Dan Nwafor faction has interpreted or misinterpreted, depending on the page you are, to mean that they should return to office and superintend the affairs of the party until the expiration of their tenure, which should expire by the end of this month. However, a letter from the National Secretary, or purportedly written by the National Secretary, because the letter has also been countered or be said to be false from the McDonald and Warren faction. But the letter said that Dan Nwafor should occupy the secretariat of the APC pending or until the expiration of his tenure. But in a twist, few days after the letter purportedly written by the National Secretary of the APC, there was also another letter from the leadership of the APC in the Southeast, and they said that the judgment of the Supreme Court did not expressly reinstate Dan Nwafor. Rather, what the judgment did was that status quo should remain. And if status quo should remain, it means that Dan Nwafor should be the chairman. However, owing to the decision of the National Working Committee of the APC some months ago to dissolve the party structures in the country and conduct fresh congresses which produce world, state, and national leadership of the party, that the decision of the NEC means that Dan Nwafor's tenure or leadership had come to an end, and McDonald and Warren, who emerged as the chairman of the party after the fresh congress, is the right candidate or the right chairman or the authentic chairman of the party in Imo State. But in a meeting Dan Nwafor held with his group, he spoke tough and he said he is the authentic chairman of the party. Many would ask, why this tussle and what does it mean for the party if Dan Nwafor eventually, after some judicial review of this judgment, is declared the rightful candidate or the authentic chairman of the party? It will mean that the processes that led to the emergence of candidates in the APC might be declared null and void, because these documents and the processes were overseen by McDonald-led faction of the APC. And if the court says they are not the authentic representative or leaders of the party in the state, it means that what they did is null and void. And it's left to be seen if the PDP will cash in on this legal battle and try and see what the judge or what the court will say if they go in court to challenge the judgment. It could mean that APC or the PDP might even defeat the APC before the date of the general election, because anything that is contrary or anything that does not solidify McDonald's and Warren leadership in Imo State means we spare doom for the APC in Imo State. But it is left to be seen how these things will pan out. That is what it has been happening in Imo State as far as the leadership of APC is concerned, and it has been given much concern to the two factions. Of course, if Dan Nwankwo at the end of the day smiles home, it will be the resurrection of former governor of Imo State, who is the serving senator of Imo West, Senator Rochas Okorocha, who is the face behind Dan Nwankwo. But it is left to be seen where this will lead. But however it is, Dan Nwankwo's tenure will expire at the end of this month. So by the time this judgment will be given, he must be legally and thoroughly out of office. But let's see what happens from now to the next few months and see who will smile last at the end of the day. From there, we're going to discuss Obi and Kwankwaso alliance. The third first, are they going to ally? There has been discussions. Are the aggrieved members in PDP going to join them? Who will be the presidential candidate and who will be the vice? Who will deputize the other? Would Peter Obi enjoy the goodwill of Nigeria, disappoint his supporters to be the vice president to Kwankwaso? Or would Kwankwaso, a former governor of the state, a former leader, minister of the state, and who is also enjoying sympathy from the northern part of the country, would he also cut down his ego and deputize Peter Obi? This we will discuss when we come back. Please stay with us. Okay, it is no longer news that in the southern part of the Nigeria precisely, Peter Obi's candidacy with the Labour Party has been greeted with much excitement. This excitement has seen youth who before now seem to have lost interest in politics of Nigeria rush to INEC registration centers to demand for their PVCs. What Peter Obi is doing in the southern part of the country is also what Kwankwaso of the NNPP is doing in the north. Kwankwaso, a former governor of Kano State and a former minister, is contesting for the president with a much less fancied party, NNPP, same as Peter Obi, who is also doing his or running under the platform of the Labour Party. However, there have been meetings with between these two candidates for the presidential election, and this meeting is geared towards forming an alliance. This alliance would possibly see one deputize the other. But the big question is, who would deputize the other? Would Peter Obi, who is enjoying massive movement, massive goodwill from the youth, and from people who seem to be fed up with the kind of leadership that have been recorded in Nigeria over the years, would he sacrifice that on the altar of being vice presidential candidate to Kwankwaso? Also know that Peter Obi was a vice presidential candidate to Alhaji Atiku Abubakar in the 2019 election. And if he had remained in the PDP and supported Atiku to emerge as the candidate of the party, it is also possible that he would have been retained for that job as the vice presidential candidate. PDP, where he had brighter chances of becoming the running mate of the Atiku, to settle for Kwankwaso. And for Kwankwaso, who feels that the northern or his state can produce the highest number of votes for the presidential election in the country, he would say he has the bragging right, that he has something to offer or to bring to the table. And if he and Peter Obi can get the vote of Kano State, that they could as well pull a surprise in this election. Would also the North feel very comfortable having Kwankwaso deputize somebody in the mood of Peter Obi, who as Kwankwaso has been a former governor in the state? Granted, or we have to state that in terms of political class and positions held in the country, Kwankwaso seems to have an edge. He has been a senator, he has been a governor, and he has been a minister. To form an alliance that would stop the APC and the PDP from producing the next president of the nation. Obi and Kwankwaso must be selfless in their considerations. They must consider that the people are fed up with bad leadership that the PDP and APC have given the country over the years. And if they must pull up a fight in 2022 election, Atiku Abubakar is not a pushover. Ahmed Tinubu is also a strong force as far as politics is concerned in Nigeria. But the NPP spokesman who spoke on in a recent interview said or made suggestions stating that they cannot, his candidate, Kwankwaso, cannot be a deputy to Peter Obi. And the feeling from the southern part of the country is that if Peter Obi decide to succumb to become the vice presidential candidate of NPP or to Kwankwaso, that he will lose the goodwill he's enjoying. Now the big question is, Kwankwaso needs Peter Obi in the south as much as Peter Obi needs Kwankwaso in the north. If they do not agree, or if both men cannot decide to be selfless in their consideration, what becomes of their aspiration? Going about selling the message of production to the public, and the people seem to have accepted him, just as people over the north have also accepted Kwankwaso. In the coming days, it will be clear, because both parties, the Labour Party and NPP, submitted candidates for that position, the vice presidential position, but it is on placeholders. It is on placeholders stand. That is to say that before the window of substitution closes, they will submit a candidate that would have that acceptability, that will have that capacity, that will also come from the other part of the country. Like if Peter Obi, who is from the south, would, of course, he submitted the names of Doyin Okupe, who is also from the southern part of the country, which cannot fly, because it has always been the north and the south. So before the expiration of the deadline for the substitution, Peter Obi and Kwankwaso must have reached an agreement whether they will forge an alliance or to your threat, O Israel. Nigerians are hoping that they form this alliance so as to have an option from the PDP and the APC. From the look of things, that alliance seems far from reality, because the stake is high and the ego of both men is on the front burner. None would want to take a big political risk that might see them lose political relevance. Like I said, it is February, the election. From now to that period, we will know what will happen. But for now, it is tensed, and people are hoping that this alliance forms, or this meeting between Kwankwaso and Peter Obi gives Nigerians another option outside the APC and PDP. Dear viewers, this is a season of politics, intrigues, betrayals, political developments, and surprises. This will be serving you on Weekly Digest on Uhtv Naija. I hope you enjoyed this week's edition, and I'll be back next week to also bring you up to speed with what has happened within the next 7 days. I hope you join me when next I come around, as I will be here to regularly update you on the political development in Nigeria, Africa, and the world at large. I am Kizito Duru, your host, and I want to see you next week. Bye for now.